Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, when Israelis refuse to serve in the military, how tolerant is Israel of its conscientious objectors? So whenever we talk about Israel, our community is right there with us, eager to debate and discuss it. Our guest digital producer this week is Omar Badar, filling in for Malika Balal. So give us a little taste of what's to come.
You know, Israel is always controversial, and when you're talking specifically about people refusing military service, that's particularly sensitive and gets a lot of heated emotions from our community. We have Terry here who says, so there are Israelis with a conscience. Let us hope more follow these brave men. But we also have somebody who calls himself IDF Brigade saying they are traitors, arrest them, court-martial them, and lock them up. For those of you at home, we want to hear from you as well, so tweet us using the hashtag AJStream, and we'll try to get to those tweets during the show.
Hi, my name is Ran Bar Yoshafat. I'm a lawyer and an Israeli activist, and I'm in the stream.
A group of reservists from an elite intelligence unit in the Israeli military have openly refused to spy on Palestinians. In a letter to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, 43 members of Unit 8200 declared their refusal to continue serving as tools in the deepening the military control over the occupied territories. They claim that Palestinians living under military rule are completely exposed to espionage and surveillance by Israeli intelligence, and that the information is used for political persecution and to create divisions within Palestinian society by recruiting collaborators. Now, Israeli leaders responded by denouncing the letter as baseless slander and vowing to treat its signatories as criminals. So today, we wanted to find out how much space is there in Israel for dissenting voices. To help us talk about this, we're joined by Ronnie Barkan. He's a self-proclaimed conscientious objector and co-founder of Boycott From Within. That's a group that supports the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement in Israel. Haggai Matar, who refused to enlist in the Israeli military. That was back in 2002. He's also a journalist, and he's interviewed some of the Unit 8200 reservists who made news recently. Roy Idan is a reservist field intelligence officer and a writer, and Matan Peleg is an army reservist and also a CEO of I'm Tiazu. That's a Zionist advocacy group. So gentlemen, it's good to have you all here in the stream. Welcome to all of you. Let me start out with Roy. This Unit 8200, it is a very special unit. It's very famous in Israel. For us around the world, can you give us a little sense of why it is so legendary?
First of all, it's huge. It's the biggest unit in the Israeli army, and it deals with everything that has to do with signal intelligence and electronic intelligence, monitoring communications. But I have to say that to me, this letter is has nothing to do with conscientious objection. It's a clear publicity stunt, and it's really ridiculous that people are treating it with such respect from both sides of the sides of the matter.
So in the letter, the reservists talk about things that they had to do that they were very uncomfortable doing. Ronnie, can you even relate to that? What sort of things would they be asked to do in this Unit 8200? I mean, Roy told us it was huge. Other than that, what else do they do?
Yes, we have to remember, first of all, that military intelligence, other than being an oxymoron, it has to do with quite a lot of dirty business. How do you get intelligence? How do you get information? And that is done a lot via collaborators. But in this specific case, there are soldiers, ex-soldiers, who speak up about the way that they got information, and they have said very clearly that they have targeted people who are clearly innocent according to the way that they see it, and even using and abusing their condition. I mean, either targeting people for their sexual orientation and using that,
but they didn't object from them.
Or targeting people who are in need of medical aid, medical treatment.
Right. So
they didn't object then, though. They're objecting now, years and years and years later, and they don't even have the courage to use their own names and to step forward. When Haggai,
they're not allowed to use their own names. They were disallowed by the censorship to use their own names.
They have a lot of respect to the IDF military censorship, but no respect. Like they'll refuse to serve, but they won't refuse to follow military censorship laws.
All right.
Yes, they refuse to be.
Gentlemen, just one at a time. Hagai, go ahead.
When you objected, you went to prison, and I can respect that because to me, if somebody has an issue with going into the military, and since Israel has mandatory conscription, to me it's legitimate to be a conscientious objector. And you went to prison. You spent 2 years in prison. You stepped forward. You used your own name. You did something that I don't agree with, but is very brave. Those guys, we don't even know if they're real. Even if they're real, we don't even know what capacity they are in that unit.
They were on television. I spoke to them.
So Roy and gentlemen, hold tight for a second. Let me bring in one of those guys as Roy describes him. He is anonymous in this Guardian interview. The Guardian did interview some of them. And to Roy's point, it's like, why didn't you ask at the time? Why didn't you ask your superiors? If you were upset, why didn't you bring your complaints to your superiors? This is what they told the Guardian interviewers.
I asked those questions during my army service about whether some of the things we are doing are maybe wrong, and I was always given the answer that everything is all right.
Okay. So there you go. Everything is all right. Omar, what are we getting from our community right now?
So, one of the central questions here is whether there's room for dissent within the military. We have Marilyn here who tweeted in saying, as a soldier myself, I can imagine an instance where I would refuse to obey an order. We're not drones. But I also have this video comment from David. Take a listen to this.
There's a big difference between being a conscientious objector and refusing orders while serving in the military. Israel's society does not allow, does not appreciate people in uniform voicing political opinions, and those in uniform who have crossed the red line and have signed petitions or are conducting any political type of protest should be court-martialed and punished.
So, Hagai, what do you think of that distinction, that maybe you have the right to object, but once you do serve, that once you're serving, you should not be voicing any dissent once you're in the military? What do you think of that idea?
Well, first of all, I don't agree. The military itself says that you are allowed to disobey an order if it is completely and utterly illegal. But specifically regarding the 8200 people, what they're saying is not that it is a specific order that was illegal or illegitimate. What they're saying is that their entire mission was illegitimate, and that's supporting the military regime. So it's kind of like saying, you work in McDonald's, why didn't you mention to your boss that killing animals and selling meat is wrong? Well, of course, that's what you do in McDonald's. You serve dead cows. So it's exactly the same thing. These people in this unit are saying our entire service was devoted to something that is morally wrong.
Were they all involved? Do we know that they were all involved with covering the Palestinian territories? Do we know that they weren't involved with covering? All of them had to do with dealing with the Palestinian territories. None of them dealt with Syria or Iraq or whatever. We know for a fact
the 40 or
they
all
all,
the 43.
Martin, hold tight for a second. I'll bring you in just so I can hear you one at a time. Martin, go ahead.
Let's even think about what they said. What they said in the petition is no different than any other intelligence unit in the world. Let's not forget that what they are doing is to fight terror. Unfortunately, terror is coming from those places almost on a daily basis. And now trying to say that it's immoral, it's a joke. At the end of the day, it's a joke, because as you know,
Hagai,
as you know, Hagai, almost every day it were terror attacks against Israel. And what this unit is trying to do is event terror by intelligent fighting. It's even not with guns. I think
but the people in that unit are saying that that's not what they did. They're saying we were in that unit abusing the rights of
guys, all right, gentlemen, just hold tight for a moment, because I really want to hear every single person debate, and I can't hear you in stereo. Martin, finish your sentence. Hagai, hold tight, and then you can pick up off the back of him. Martin, please finish your sentence.
What I said is, we must not forget that terror is killing innocent people. This is what is terror all about.
Right.
And terror comes from those territories all the time. If the way to fight it is about listening to conversations of people in the telephone, well, it's a very important thing to do, to say it's not morally,
okay.
It's a joke.
All right, an important thing to do, an important job. Hagai, what's the response from you?
What they're saying is exactly not what Martin is saying. They are saying we were there doing tasks that were not aimed at preventing violence towards Israel, which is something that they are still willing to do. They're saying that they are willing to serve in the army, preventing attacks from Syria or Iran and so on. They're saying that what they did regarding the occupied territories is spying on civilians.
Matan, I'm just going to ask you, just wait for Haggai to finish so that I can actually hear you. All right, so let me just move things, let me just push things on just a little bit, gentlemen. Hold tight for a second. Just put it on pause, everybody. Moving things along just a little bit. Have a look here. We spoke to the Israeli military because we were really wanted them to be part of this program. They sent us a long statement. This is part of their statement. They say here, the letter and its contents are politically motivated rather than real concerns about the alleged claims made in it. This brings up that whole idea, is there even space for there to be a conscientious objectors movement in Israel? Does that even exist, Ronnie?
I would, just before answering that, I would like to refer to what Matan and Roy said.
Sure.
So Matan says that actually he is making some sort of a distinction, saying that what about other external enemies? Doesn't military intelligence deal with that? And actually in the letter, or in the following testimonies, they do say that basically Palestinians are being targeted, every single Palestinian is being targeted by the military intelligence, just like it treats external agencies, external enemies, basically. And that goes along very well with the way that every single Palestinian is being treated by the State of Israel. Even the 20% citizens who live inside Israel, who carry an Israeli citizenship, are at best second-class citizens, but they are being oppressed and subjugated by the system, and they are being treated as the enemy from within. And that is part of what we're talking about.
All right, so Roy...
The other thing is...
Okay, so we actually want to keep gentlemen...
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
All right, so I want you to help us understand this whole idea of, can you even object in Israeli society? So I hear the points you're making, but I'm not hearing that with any great clarity.
Of course.
So help me out with that.
Of course you can.
Yeah, go on.
Of course you can object.
Of course you can object. Israel is
the problem in Israel is not so much about freedom of
I'm listening to
expression.
Roy. Everybody is not called Roy. Please just pipe down for a second. Roy, go ahead.
Of course, it's possible to object, and I personally think it's important to object.
Right. And you feel there's space? There's space for that without people being. Look
at Haggai. Look at Haggai. Look at Haggai. Haggai made a career out of it. Haggai made a career out of it.
I didn't make a career out of it. I went to 2 years in prison for it.
Yes.
Well, Haggai is not the only one. Let's not forget Haggai is not the only one.
There have been letters of dissent, and there have been, guys, just a second. There has been dissent, there have been conscientious objectors. I think it shows just how inclusive and tolerant the Israeli democracy is. To me, somebody like Haggai is a badge of honor to Israeli democracy. I think that people who have issues with serving in the military, it's both morally wrong to make them serve forcefully, and it's a security issue. Like, why would you want somebody in your military who is politically motivated or ideologically motivated to work against the military? I just don't, it's ridiculous.
All right. Let me just bring in the community for a moment, because this is a conversation with 5 people in it, and the community is the 5th person. Omar.
So part of the way we look at how much dissent is tolerated is to ask how are people in Israel actually reacting to these people coming out. We have Lahav here, who says most see them as politically motivated and not entirely truthful, since these are people who weren't on duty for 9 years. But we also have Anam here, who says she doesn't expect anybody to respond to them positively, saying they are ostracized by society and penalized by the government. So Ronnie, how do you see these people being received in Israel, people who just come out against Israeli policies in the territories in general?
Whenever I say that I refuse to serve in the Israeli army, one of the first responses that I would get from Israelis would be, so why do you live here? Because anyone who doesn't serve in the army is basically does not earn the right to live here. And this society that we live in is an extremely militaristic society, an extremely racist and chauvinistic society. And we are being taught to be soldiers from kindergarten, literally from kindergarten. Kindergarten children send sweets to the soldiers in the front, and at schools they have different ceremonies, and it goes on and on, and even becomes worse with time.
It's like Nazi Germany. It's like Nazi Germany.
System, until they eventually end up in the army with very little choice about it, but they do have a choice. Everyone has a choice. And the choice in this case is very simple.
Nazi Germany and apartheid South Africa.
Okay, so Roy, this doesn't work. This doesn't work if you keep heckling. I do want to hear from you. Let Ronnie finish, and then I come to you. Otherwise, we actually can't have a courteous conversation, and we're undermining the point of this conversation. All right, so Ronnie, finish up quickly. Then we go to Roy. Roy, you don't need to heckle. Go ahead, Ronnie.
So these were the army. It has defense only by name, but it does everything other than defense. It is a terror organization, and any decent person should not, every decent person should not take part in that. We should not take part in crime. That's what I expect. That's what I demand from any decent person.
Let me bring in Roy. Ronnie, take a breath. Let me bring in Roy so we can actually go back and forth a little bit.
But so are other laws in other countries. It doesn't mean that we have to respect them.
All right, Roy.
Israel has mandatory conscription for reasons that I definitely don't need to elaborate on.
Right.
It's just how it is.
Okay.
And military and war are immoral things for a man or a woman to take part in. And intelligence work is an immoral job, usually. In order to get intelligence, you have to get sources. And in order to get sources, unless they're willingly collaborating, you have to get leverage. And you get leverage through looking into people's lives, and that's how it's done in Israel and in the United States and in Saudi Arabia and in Qatar and in every country in the world. This is how it works, and it's war, and people die, and it's even worse. And the thing is, if you have accurate intelligence and you operate with accurate intelligence, less innocent people die. So you can't say people. Of course, of course, because otherwise that's how you know who to hurt, and you don't have to hurt everybody in order to get one guy.
All right, everybody take a breath for a second.
So that to me it means that,
just take a breath for a second. I know it's difficult. You've got so much to say, and our community have too, so just bear with me for a moment. Omar.
Sure.
So we have somebody called the National Security Roundtable who tweeted in saying, "We think only in a democracy like Israel can a fringe group like this protest." Matan, do you see a contradiction in attitude between people who, on the one hand, say that, see, it's great that people here can protest, while at the same time having hostility towards people who are protesting and dissenting?
Well, Israeli community, everybody likes to argue. There are Arab Knesset members in Israel who criticize Israel 24 hours a day, and people are, it's okay. It's okay to have arguments. No one doing anything about it. I want to say, something to Ronnie. Ronnie and his organization fight against. Let's not forget, the only place in the Middle East who can have human rights and basic rights to minorities. In Israel, no one hanging gays, and no one persecute minorities, and have more rights than
the only
any
place that still has
country
minorities.
in the Middle East. Sorry, don't disturb. We have Arab judges and Arab policemen, and no one cares about it. We are even happy. Let's not forget our last president was sent to jail by an Arab judge.
So Matan, help me connect the dots here.
Let me finish, please. Finish, please.
Go ahead.
And what you are doing as a foreign agent, because most of the money that 100% of the money that you get is from foreign governments. You fight the only country that is a stable country in the Middle East that have human rights, and you need to be ashamed of it. You're making a delegitimization to the only country in the Middle East that have rights.
All right, so Matan, okay, so what is that?
Doing?
What has that got to do with being uncomfortable with what you're being asked to do in the Israeli military? What is what you've just said? How do those two things connect?
No, I'm frustrated because in this issue, because as an Israeli soldier, again and again you get orders, and you are training all the time to save human beings and not to harm people. And sometimes the orders that you get are very dangerous, because you cannot fight from here and there, and you are doing the best you can in every operation. And must not forget, we are dealing with people who use children as human shields. It's a very complicated battle, And if the battle is going to intelligence and spies, then it's even better than shooting people. So I don't even see what is criticized about.
All right, spying on them is better than shooting them. Come back here to my laptop. This is, again, this comment that we have from the Israeli military spokesperson when we asked them to be part of this program. If you say something that will undermine the stability in the country, then you will have to be held accountable. So then if we look at options for you, if you don't want to be in the Israeli military, Ronnie, what choices do you have?
Well, the system offers you to get exempted from the army either for health reasons or mental health reasons, or sit in jail, and then you're being released for being a troublemaker more than anything. It doesn't really acknowledge the right to conscientious objection, other than an internal committee that is supposed to do that but doesn't. But that is just the technicality of it all, and I'm not really interested to go into the technicalities. We have to understand that we heard all sorts of fallacies recently from Matan. First of all, I would like to reshuffle a few things that we said here. First of all, there is no growing dissent or growing objection movement in Israel. The whole Israeli left is non-existent. There is no left in Israel. And
this is not true at all. I'm sorry, but you are lying.
Along with that,
the left-wing party,
movement, but there are...
Matan, we listen to you courteously. Just have a listen to Ronnie for a second, even if you disagree with him. All right.
Just don't lie to the audience.
It's his opinion. It may not be a lie. It's just his opinion.
It's a very hard thing to do. Don't lie.
Matan, it's an opinion, okay? Let's take it as an opinion. Okay. Ronnie, finish up. We have 3 minutes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
But you don't have all of those 3 minutes.
It's very small. It's negligible, but it is important that they do exist, and it's important that they speak up.
All right.
Secondly, we heard over and over again about beyond democracy, there was democracy. Israel is not a democracy, never was a democracy, not even to begin with. It was founded on the basis of ethnic supremacy and ethnic cleansing. That is at the core of everything that we are talking about.
Where in Israel you have ethnic cleansing? Please tell us.
That we all
please tell us.
By taking away the basic
rights of the others. Ethnic cleansing in Israel.
All right, gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you just to put a pause on this for a moment. You're all speaking at the same time. Ronnie and Martin, bring the volume right down for everybody. Wow. Okay. Trying to have a courteous conversation. I do see the heat. I hear the heat. Just calm down for a minute, gentlemen. Let's go back to the community. Fortunately, I can't hear the community yelling at us. This is a good thing. Yep. What do you have?
We have Tanvir here who actually messaged us on Facebook saying, dissenting voices against any confrontationist measures is always going to help the cause of all those who seek to end a decade-old vendetta. So he's talking about how this is a productive way to move forward.
Right, interesting. Productive way to move forward. Dare I take Ronnie and Haggai and Roy and Martin to the post show? I'm feeling brave. I'm going to do that. stream.aljazeera.com. Roy, you've been very vocal on this whole subject. Just very briefly, just to wrap up on, what should happen to these reservists who spoke out? What should happen to them?
Absolutely nothing, because they didn't refuse anything. It's complete and total nonsense. They wrote a letter that they sent to no one.
Yeah.
And what they said there, they detailed some vague accusations, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
They said that in the case that when maybe they're called up one day, they may refuse,
all
basically. Right. They didn't go.
So there should be no punishment, even though even though the administration is very annoyed by what they said. No punishment whatsoever.
Well,
interesting.
Of course not. They didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
I know the Guardian was really interested in it, and the international media, like they're interested in every morsel of negative news about Israel, but it's
right. Okay. All right, gentlemen. Thank you for your very strong opinions. We will be taking you to the post show. Gentlemen, just hold tight for a moment. I have to wrap up this part of the show, and then we'll start up again in the post show. I just have enough time though to tell you about next week. I will be in New York at the UN General Assembly, but Malika Bilal will be back with Omar to discuss the results of Scotland's referendum vote. Until then, we'll see you online. Thanks so much for watching. Hello, this is the Stream's online post show. We've been talking about Israeli conscientious objectors and how they're viewed in Israel. So, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you, actually, just very politely, Ronnie, Haggai, Roy, Matan, people you're writing notes and holding them up to the camera. I would like to have a mature discussion. I don't want to see any more notes being held up to the camera. It's not very helpful. So, having said that, Haggai, help us kind of push this a little bit forward. In terms of what is the point of saying you don't want to join the Israeli military? What do you achieve by being a conscientious objector?
Well, I think that the first aim of people refusing to enlist is not necessarily to gain something. It's first of all to say, this is something that I'm not willing to be part of. Usually people refusing and making that statement have seen enough of the occupation and what it does to civilians in the West Bank and in Gaza to realize that they do not want to be part of that oppression. So that is the first thing. And the next point is perhaps, luckily, if you succeed and gather with others, you get a message through to the Israeli society, to the Palestinian society, to the international community, saying we are protesting together as a group, and we are unwilling to be part of this military regime anymore. And I think that is the main message, both of the young conscientious objectors that are now in prison, some of them, and of the people refusing from A200.
What I was trying to get an idea from, and it was hard during this debate because it's so heated, was that how big a movement is it? Could you even call yourself as being part of a movement?
No.
Well,
no,
it is a
small
movement.
That's
movement.
All right, so Matan says a very small movement, but
no,
Haggai.
They are very small because people understand
yes,
that we are forced to do it. We are forced to defend ourselves. Look, a week after the disengagement from Gaza, it was a terror attack. Terror comes against us all the time.
Okay.
People understand it. I hate the army. I hate it. I don't like guns, but I'm going to defend my family and my friends because I don't have a choice. Because always when we tried, and we are still trying to do a peaceful, to do peace and to do peaceful suggestions, always we find ourselves in a very violent position. Look what happened in Oslo. Look what happened always. So saying, so this is the only reason that all those refuseniks, people in Israel see them as a joke, because they know the truth. They know there is not any ethnic cleansing and no apartheid and all those rubbish, because those are false accusations, and you
so
can
Matan,
see them in the reality in Israel.
Take a breath so that Haggai can actually respond to you. Haggai, please go ahead.
What I was about to say is, yes, there is a movement, and the movement, I think, is very small, amongst other reasons, because Israelis have very few chances to get to see the occupation firsthand. You don't get to see it in the news usually, you don't get to see it on the media, you don't go into Palestinian territories, usually to the Palestinian parts of the Palestinian territories, and to see how the army
Okay,
operates.
Matan, don't make me bring out my teacher to you. I'm going to ask you one more time to respect somebody who's actually speaking. Please don't let me ask you to have to be quiet when somebody else is speaking. I really do want to hear your point of view, but you have to allow people to converse with you, okay? Don't just yell over them. Haggai, finish up quickly, because obviously people are eager to move the conversation on.
It's a small movement because not many Israelis realize what the occupation is really about. They most think, like Matan said, that it's just an issue of self-defense from terrorism. They don't see the day-to-day life of Palestinians, and those who do see it often do choose to refuse.
All right, okay, let's go back to the community.
So on the question of whether, obviously they've made a big enough splash with this statement that a lot of people are covering, and we're talking about it here. But the question is, how much impact is there beyond that? We have Amani here on Facebook who says their actions will definitely make a difference and signal a turning point in Israel's continuously unchecked war crimes, as she describes it. But we have Zeleme here who says this is too little, too late. It won't change the system. Israeli society won't wake up unless they pay the costs for the occupation. #BDS. Ronnie, do you see any significance to what has happened so far beyond just sort of a media frenzy around this? Do you see any kind of lasting impact for this?
I think there is a whole lot of significance, but not necessarily about how the Israeli society treats it, because, as was mentioned by all speakers, the Israeli society is very much militaristic and fascist. We know that 96% of Israelis, and when we say Israelis, we only count the 80% Jews, we never count the others, the non-Jews, because it is not an inclusive society. So 96% of Israelis, Israeli Jews, supported the massacre in Gaza when it started, and they carry on supporting it to this day. The same figures also, 95% supported the previous massacre in Gaza in 2008-2009. So that goes across the board. Doesn't matter if you're so-called left-wing or right-wing in Israel. They all support it. And at the same time, the number of refuseniks, the number of conscientious objectors are very small. They are negligible in numbers, but their voice is very important. It is important not because they are changing Israel's perception so much, but they are changing the perception of the people around the world, and that is extremely important in order to convince the people of the world, to convince your listeners, to apply pressure on Israel to join the growing BDS movement, which is a movement.
Okay, Ronnie, I'll take your point. Take a breath there, because we hear that point, and then Roy can jump in. Only because
freedom and justice for all.
All right, okay, Ronnie, take a breath. Roy, go ahead.
Everything has to do with this campaign. It's part of the worldwide campaign that's being run by a very, very fringe minority, foreign-funded group in Israel, to weaken Israel and to erode its ability to defend itself. The same people who are trying to use lawfare in order to make Israel work harder in the battlefield so that no innocents at all are killed. Of course, that's the only country in the world that has to maintain 0 civilians dead. The same thing is now trying to apply it to intelligence work. Like, you can't listen to anything except for the terrorist talking about how he's making the bomb right now. And this is, to me, it's completely ridiculous. This will have no lasting effect because we'll keep doing what we have to do because we really don't have another choice. And, the lie has already been repeated so many times, and it's really gotten the grasp. The massacre in Gaza, the apartheid, the fascists, blah, blah. It's all nonsense. It's really, it's hard for me to even respond to it seriously.
Is the wrong statute nonsense?
All right, so this is a good point for me to say, let's put this on pause and take this online. Let me just go back, though, to the community for one last comment. Omar.
We have Eva here who tweeted in saying, I wish the Israeli population was more grateful towards these true heroes, she calls them.
So we have Ronnie Barkan, Hagai Matar, Roy Edan and Matan Peleg. I really appreciate the passion you brought to this conversation. Thank you for spending it with us on the stream. Now, next week, what will we be doing? Well, I will be in New York at the UN General Assembly, but Malika Bilal will be back here with Omar to discuss the results of Scotland's referendum vote. If you have an opinion about that, let us know. #AJStream. Thanks for watching.